All I can say is that the fake news just doesn't get it, do they? All right. I'm not done with this yet. Enemy of the people? Look, again, people are like, how can you say that? And by the way, you're in the media. I'm not like them. I'm not like them. And these are my 3 favorite examples. I could come up with probably 1,000, but these are the most easy to prove and I think the most oft told, can I say often told, lies that we hear from the media all the time. The Charlottesville one is a classic now.
Donald Trump stood on national television and said there were very fine people on both sides when one side had Nazis.
He uttered those 6 words, the most disgraceful words the president spoken in my lifetime. Very fine people on both sides.
Calling these folks fine people is a load of crap. They're not fine people.
He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides?
These people, all of them, and probably 600,000 just like them, they're the disgraceful liars. They are lying, each and every one of them, when they say President Trump said very fine people and that he was somehow talking about Nazis. He specifically said not Nazis and not watch.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
The media, the press, they should be condemned totally for how they have misportrayed this event millions of times, millions of times. It is so unfair, and they do it all the time. Incredible. Hey, how about this? Nicholas Sandmann, remember him and his friends from that high school, and they went to Washington, D.C., and they said that they said awful things to that Indian, and all he did was stand there and smile. The horrible things they said about those kids. And what did they hate most about them? That they were Christians. Unbelievable. I'm never going to forget this stuff. I never can, and neither should you. Oh, by the way, this might be the classic of them all.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
All right, this is a good review in my book, all right? Just to understand and remind ourselves how corrupt and dishonest they are, all right? You have to look at almost everything knowing that before you engage the media. I know you do, but it's a good refresher, in my opinion. Like, for instance, why haven't we heard more about Ashley Biden? Ashley Biden is the 41-year-old daughter of Joe Biden. You hear about Hunter a lot, Beau too, rest in peace, but not Ashley. Well, Ashley may have issues. I'm sorry to say. We all have issues, but Ashley wrote about hers, and, well, now they're public, and thanks to Joe Biden, they've actually been confirmed that this is her. This is a page from her diary. Now, I noticed this last October. It was in a fairly obscure website, National File. No offense, National File, but a lot of folks weren't familiar with you, and this seemed like, well, we don't know what to do with it because it's just a page from a diary, and like Marsha Brady, I think the good thing to do is what Desi Arnaz Jr. did and return the diary. But now Joe Biden has made a federal case out of this. So at one point, we don't know, but James O'Keefe from Project Veritas, they do interesting work, but the FBI searched his house and his office looking for this diary. Did he ever have it? Who gave it to him? The FBI? A diary? Yeah, they got involved. Now, why did they get involved? Would they have gotten involved if he were a liberal? Maybe, but I tend to doubt it. He's very conservative, and I talked about the interesting work. It's sometimes controversial. He loves to go after liberal institutions like CNN with a hidden camera.
I think we got him through this term. We would always show shots of him jogging, him in aviator shades, and like you paint him as a young geriatric.
We were creating a story there that we didn't know anything about. You know, so that's I think that's propaganda.
Okay, those are CNN people bad-mouthing Joe Biden, bad-mouthing how they do business at CNN. The left, they hate it. They hate that a conservative is using a hidden camera to catch them saying incriminating and embarrassing things about themselves and how they do business. Yeah, they really do hate it.
Can we just have 1 second to talk about Project Veritas videos and how, if I'm to give my satirical media criticism, it's like watching Ghost Adventures.
All right. I don't know what he's talking about with Ghost Adventures, but they don't like it because they're going after the left. By the way, and they say, oh, hidden camera, that's a despicable thing to do. They do it all the time, and they've been doing it for decades. You know it. You've seen it before on the news.
A special year-long marketplace investigation, undercover inside nursing homes.
A sassy answer to that question from attorney Mark Koplik in its hidden camera video.
That brings us back to our hidden camera test with Stephanie and her SUV. We wanted to see if mechanics would try to take advantage of her over that so-called idiot light.
Okay, so hidden cameras, they use it all the time. But if you're James O'Keefe and you're a conservative and you target liberal organizations and politicians, you might find your home searched and your office searched. That is so un-American and weird. Very, very odd. And Joe Biden, by the way, I blame him. The Justice Department, I don't think they would have done this had they not checked with him about his daughter's diary, right? Well, Joe, you just confirmed that the diary is legit. And if anybody wants to read it, they can find it online. Media are not actually complaining about James O'Keefe's treatment at all. They don't care because he's a conservative. And they don't like him for other reasons as well, but they should. Because next time it could be them. Who knows what could happen? The only time I remember them really getting upset about any move against a reporter was Jim Acosta. Remember this weirdo from CNN? Now, he refused to give up the microphone. He was trying to debate the president during a press conference. It was very strange. They finally had to more or less wrestle that microphone away from him. And then, again, the mainstream media lost its mind when they dared the Trump administration to take his White House press pass away for a little while.
The judge decided that Acosta should get his pass back because the White House denied him due process. They didn't give him any notice that his pass is going to be revoked or any chance to rebut the White House's reasoning for trying to take it away.
It was such a big story. It wound up in federal court. It wasn't curtailing his freedom of speech. They said you can't show up at the White House when you're wrestling White House interns in front of the president. That's not appropriate. But they worked it out, and Mr. Acosta came back. Talk about, this is so emblematic of the press, how self-important they are, right? Their egos. And who talks like this? The only person I remember talking quite like this is Sam Donaldson, full of himself, all the puffery. Take a look.
I'm very grateful for what happened today and grateful for my colleagues in the press who stood by us through all of this. This was a test, and I think we passed the test. Journalists need to know that in this country, their First Amendment rights, freedom of the press, are sacred.
Wow. So why don't you check in with Mr. O'Keefe, James O'Keefe? Where's the White House Correspondents Association or, I don't know, the Committee to Protect Journalists? Are they worried about Mr. O'Keefe right now, who just had his home and office raided by the FBI over the president's daughter's diary? This is insane, but it's actually happening, and it's disgraceful. I guess we shouldn't be surprised because we know the media are the enemy of the people. Something else that's on my mind that's gotten very little attention. There was a prominent police official here in New York City by the name of Ed Mullins. He was head of the Sergeants Benevolent Association, a vocal critic of the mayor, of the president, President Biden. And guess what? He used to tweet a lot, like everybody. Not everybody, but his tweets could be pretty intense, okay? Really out there sometimes. But hey, didn't Jim Acosta just say freedom of speech is really, really important? Guess what? They raided his home, his office. The FBI did. They took everything away from this guy, his possessions, of course, and also his job. He no longer works at the police department. He had to He was essentially forced to leave. But there are people in this town who don't realize he wasn't arrested. He wasn't indicted. This is part of an investigation. I believe, actually I know, the mayor has a huge grudge against this guy because of his online activity and the stuff he's said on Twitter. The federal government has been used to destroy his life. And they don't even have the guts to bring a case. Will they? I don't know. But it's not supposed to work this way, right? I think you know the answer. We'll be right back.